So by the end of July, normally we reckon to have got a lot of the summer planting done, and most of that is following spring harvests. And these two beds illustrate it nicely. These are the dig no dig beds where I'm comparing growth of the same plants in soil that is dug every winter with the compost put in the trench. No dig with the same amount of compost on top. So same ingredients, different soil work. Same plants. So far this year, the dig bed has yielded 43, maybe 44, I haven't done a final sum, but around that 43, 44 kilos of harvest already. And the no dig bed is in the 50s. It's around 53, 54. So 10 kilos more from here so far this year compared to here. The legacy of that a bit is in how sometimes now on the dig bed the growth is slightly stronger. I think because the spring plantings didn't get going very quickly. They maybe didn't take quite so much out of the soil as on this bed. But having said that, celeriac is looking a bit stronger on the no dig. And these celeriac plants went in late May between cabbages which were here already. So this was cabbage. I popped in the celeriac plants and they just got going while the cabbage were finishing. This was carrots here. Not a brilliant harvest on either bed actually. And so we popped kale between the carrots at the end of June from a May sowing. So when I talk about dates of planting, I'm talking about putting plants in. The only vegetables which arrive here as seeds are the carrots up the far end. Everything else is module raised in the greenhouse, like these French beans. So they went in between spinach that was just finishing, and we started picking them last week, Cupidon green beans. What we're going to do here is come back in maybe a couple of months and you'll see then how all this has evolved, and some things like these French beans will have finished by then, and there could even be a new planting of something like salad mustards to finish. Here, for example, we've just taken the harvest of onions, red onions, going to plant endive. So these are the module raised endive which are going in today. This planting decent sized plants, you get a very fast overlap then of cropping. These French beans were later sown, these were sown late June, planted mid-July. So all of this section has not been in the ground for very long. And this followed peas were here. And I think the reason these are slightly smaller, this area gave 3.5 kilos of peas. And here we got just 1 kilo from the dig bed. But the successional planting is slightly stronger of golden beetroot, and then a line of each bed of red beetroot. And this is where potatoes were. Fantastic yield of potatoes. Casablanca, first, second early variety, cropping late June ideally. And God, it was around 15 kilos of potatoes from 2 rows there. You know, just really serious amount of food. And that's followed by celery, 2 different types of celery. The multi-sown leeks, but basically they were sown in April and planted here late June. So they need the whole season to grow, but you can do a lot of the growing in pots before you actually put them in the ground. The carrots were sown, I sowed them middle of June between lettuces. So we had 3 rows of lettuce on each bed that we keep picking the outer leaves. And from these 3 rows, we got 15 kilos of lettuce leaves from late April to mid-July. Twist them out and already the carrots are growing. And finally, cucumbers. So this is a ridge cucumber, it's called Tanya. Really nice variety for growing outdoors, and already they're cropping. This was beetroot here, multi-sown beetroot. 4 or 5 kilos of beetroot there already, you know, in that space this year. And now we've got these lovely cucumbers growing, picking almost every day actually. If the weather's warm, if you live in a part of the world where your summer temperatures are, say, mid-20s centigrade, high 70s Fahrenheit, outdoor cucumbers are really worthwhile because they grow so fast and just give you loads of harvest only for 2 months, July, August, when you really appreciate them. But here they go off a bit in September. I'll take this out and probably plant broccoli for the autumn actually. So there you have an idea of the possibilities. This is temperate oceanic climate, the sort of things you can do 2 crops a year in our climate of most vegetables. Most vegetables grow in half a season in these conditions. Here we are now, the 23rd of September, so that's 8 weeks since you last saw these beds in the middle of summer. And you can see how much growth has happened in this time. It's a very full-on growing time of year, and the results amazes me actually every time I come out here, just this growth. Considering how all of this is second plantings, so no feeds have been given, no compost, nothing since December last, and all of this growth has happened so easily. This is the dig, no dig trial, so that's the dig bed, the no dig bed. Small differences, interesting ones. I mean, as it happens, the kale is actually stronger on the dig bed, whereas last year it was the other way around and the kale was stronger on the no dig bed. So you get those kinds of variations year on year. But I'll concentrate on this one because what I want to show you in this clip is the growth, just concentrating on the growth and how it was achieved, the timings. Like, for example, celeriac. It's a slow growing vegetable. It's not easy to get them decent size. These are not bad. I've seen bigger. But considering how they were planted, a second planting, which I put in between cabbage, and the cut-in photo here was on the 30th of May, and you can see the cabbage there rather overshadowing the small celeriac plant. So they got off to quite a slow start, but they've come good now, and we're just removing the lower leaves as they decay, rather like that. You can see the stem of that's quite rotten, so it's not contributing much to the plant anymore, just keeping them tidy. The kale followed carrots, and that was planted late June, and we've been picking. We're also spraying it with Bacillus thuringiensis just to keep the caterpillars at bay. The lettuce is a third planting, so after carrots here was French beans that you will have seen in the last video, and then they finished about a month ago, and we popped in these lettuce seedlings. And all I've done so far actually is tidy them up, remove the decaying outer leaves, and we'll be picking them first time tomorrow, taking off the outer leaves only and then coming back for more. And that's exactly what we're doing with the endive as well. This little block of endive has already yielded 4 kilograms, that's nearly 9 pounds of leaves from taking the outer leaves in the same way as we pick the lettuce. You could cut it, and that works for a great harvest, but if you cut, it's much slower to regrow, and that's why at the moment anyway, when we're pretty much selling every leaf we can grow, I prefer to pick. These French beans went in a bit later than the other ones, so it's a variety called Orinoco, yellow bean, and they're ready for another pick. We're picking them about every 4 days, and this little patch of 7 plants has yielded so far around a kilo, 2 and a bit pounds. The beetroot, golden beetroot and red beetroot, were multi-sown, and they had just been planted in the last video, so you can see how nicely they're growing now, and the clumps of roots are swelling. So you have options here. You could twist out a bigger one to harvest, or you could, in fact, I'll do that now just to show you. So like that, for example, and then in the cut-in you can see how there's smaller ones around that you can come back for later. Or I could leave them all here and harvest them, say, in November and use them over the winter. Celeries always interest me, how it can grow quite fast if you can keep it moist enough, and we have been watering both beds through the summer. Otherwise this celery would not look like this, because it's late planting basically after potatoes, and yeah, they're looking nice heads. And so if I harvest one here, there's 2 varieties actually, slightly bigger one in front called Victoria, both F1s, because I find the open pollinated celery just does not do it quite so fast as these. This one's called Loretta. I'm just cutting around the root, and then there you can see a nice stem. It's not huge, but it's decent quality. And I then do that, cut off the top as soon as I pick them, actually, because otherwise the leaves suck moisture out of the stems. It's so much of it with celery is about moisture. Next to the celery, very tight. You can see the spacing here is all pretty tight. I'm going maximum, but looking after the plants and keeping them tidy. So taking off rotting leaves or any older leaves where I see them, like on the leeks. If I just take out, I can do it by pulling the leek. So that's one of 4 basically, and it's a variety called Philomen. So it's an early leek, and again I'll just trim off the outer leaves, and you can see there's a nice stem there, not massively white, and that's because they're multi-sown, planted not deep. So it just depends what you want. If you wanted a long white stem, you would need to use a different method to this. For what we want, this is fine. And there's a lot of leeks there, because they're average 3, sometimes 4 in a clump, 16 clumps in not a very big space. This bed has already yielded this year over 70 kilos. That's around 155 pounds of vegetables, 5 feet wide, 16 feet long, 1.5 by 5 meters. And there's still a lot more to come. Like carrots, for example. So these are the carrots that were sown in June between lettuce. And if I pull one here, it'll give you an idea of what they're looking like. This is Burlicum, which is a nice winter carrot, which can store well if you want to. I think we'll probably eat them before winter though, because I haven't got any cover for the carrot root fly. So there is actually a little bit of damage here. It's just not very practical in these trial beds to put a mesh right over both lots of carrot. And finally, this is a third planting of fennel. So this little strip at the end has already had beetroot, 5 kilos, 11 pounds. Then it had cucumbers, just 2 plants of ridge cucumber that you saw last time, and they gave 9 kilos in the end, nearly 20 pounds of cucumber. And between the cucumbers, in late August, we popped in these fennel plants that were only little seedlings. You could hardly see them, covered by cucumber leaves. So then the cucumbers finish like they do here. When the nights turn cooler in early September, the cucumbers don't do so well. So I cut them off at the base. That all went to the compost heap, and suddenly you see, wow, there's fennel. So there's many harvests still to come here. We've already had all those harvests, and then these beds finish because I run this as a trial and I need to dig that one. So basically we take all the harvests by early December, and I add up the total, and every year so far, 6 years running, it's been 100 kilos or over. That's 220 pounds of vegetables from this space. But to achieve that, you've got to be on it in the summer, and that's what I've been showing you here, the results of summer planting to get this amazing abundance in the autumn.